ex-husband believed that he was going to live forever, and I do not mean in heaven, I mean here on earth, that he was going to be hundreds of years old. I did not find this out until after we got engaged, so here's what he said. He said that he was going to be the first person to live forever because he had faith. He said that because Jesus died on the cross and was raised from the dead and then left his powers to us, as said in the New Testament, that we are supposed to go heal the sick, raise the dead, do all of those sorts of things, that if we are always healing the sick, why would we ever have to die? And all we need is the faith of a mustard seed, and he can genuinely live forever. So I would tell him, hey, nobody has ever done that before. So why do you think that you possibly could live forever? And he just said that nobody has had as much faith as he has. So 20-year-old Juby, through tears, would ask him, but what happens if you pass away? And he said, don't worry, you are going to raise me. So then I would cry more because I was like, wait, that is a lot of pressure, and I am not convinced that I can do that. And he said, don't worry, I have faith in you. He also thought he was going to own the entire company at Disney.
Hey, ma'am, is that your husband? You deserve better. I'm sorry. I saw him yelling at you earlier. It made me really sad. You deserve better. I'm so sorry. Can I hug you? You have a good time. You deserve to, go off and do what you want to do. Thank you.
As someone who's been yelled at a theme park and it ended up causing my divorce, that video made me cry. Long story short, I had shared a bite of my burger with my cousin. It made my husband explode on me at the time, and outside of the Yak and Yeti restaurant at Disney World, he ended up exploding and saying that he was going to strand me, and he's screaming and cussing at me, and literally nobody said anything. And I've gotten comments before from people saying, well, what do you wish people had done? And I don't know. Jubilee in 2020 probably would have said that she is glad that nobody intervened because it would have just made the situation worse. And in fact, I just wanted to be invisible at the time. I was so embarrassed that people were watching that if somebody tried to intervene, I don't know how I would have felt about it. Looking back, Jubilee in 2025 is disappointed that obviously a bunch of people watched me be verbally abused at Disney World and nobody stood up for me and just watched it happen. So when people ask me, how do you wish people had reacted around you? I don't know what to say, but what I do know is watching that video made me extremely emotional because I think that that is exactly what I would have needed. After the explosive argument, my ex went away and we kind of separated for an hour. If somebody had come up to me and said that they witnessed it and that I deserved better, and met me in a safe place where I was away from my ex and offered me help one-on-one, that is exactly what I would have needed. And that video restored my faith in humanity a little bit. My ex-mother-in-law begged me to stay with my ex-husband after he strangled me. This is the mother of the guy who freaked out that I shared a bite of my Disney World burger with my cousin that led to our divorce. And I know it sounds atrocious that she begged me to stay with him, and I agree that it is, but I did want to share a bit of information about my relationship with her and why it affected me the way that it did. My relationship with who I am going to call Dorothy was always really good when we were married, and I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a backstory about them. They lived in a tiny, tiny town, and when I say that, I need you to picture the town from Cars. There were literally 300 residents where my ex grew up.
All right, people, what's going on? So you guys saw that video, and you saw that I cut the last video a little bit short. I'm going to explain that video as we go, so that's why I cut it short. But you saw she was basically saying that she ended up getting choked because of this incident. Now, I always tell you guys to not protect women. And I don't say that to be facetious. I say it because you don't know how she got in that situation, right? I always tell you, if you see a woman getting attacked in public or having something bad happen to her in public, a lot of times she either did something directly to put herself in that situation, and this is the consequences of her action, or she's like crafting the situation, like she's contriving this situation so she can get, witnesses to see this person do something to her, or that she can like kind of get the simp enforcers involved to beat the guy up, right? She's doing it on purpose. Or it's a situation where the guy is legitimately crazy. Either way, when you go over there and you jump in, something bad is going to happen, and it's not necessarily going to work out in your favor, right? I've played that Charleston White clip a dozen times, and it kind of perfectly fits into this situation. I want you to think about what you heard this woman say. In the very first clip, she's telling you that her now ex-husband was crazy, This guy thought that he was going to live forever on the earth because he had more faith than everybody who touched turf on the earth since Jesus. He thinks he has more faith than Peter, John, James, Paul, every pope, everybody. Like, this guy legitimately thinks this. And the reason she married this guy, keep in mind, she said that she didn't find this out until after they got engaged, but they still went through with the wedding. And the reason that they still went through with the wedding is because in other videos, and in the longer video that I cut off, she explains that they are from a really small religious community. The ex-husband is from a super small town, like 300 people, and she's from a small town, a little bit bigger, but small nonetheless. And I guess they're a part of an ultra mega religious community, and her whole entire Instagram page is about the shenanigans that went on in her church family, in her church life. So religion is a big thing for her, not in terms of her being a follower, but just in terms of what she went through as a child, what she went through in her youth, right? Okay, so that's a whole thing for her. So it's not like she necessarily chose this dude herself, because she tells a story on her Instagram page or TikTok, if you're following her there. She tells a story about how her pastor paired her and this guy up because the pastor had a vision that God said, this is the wife for this man, right? So she didn't necessarily choose this guy. And if you guys know anything about religious communities, they can be very oppressive in terms of, the marriage thing and purity culture. That's another big thing on her page. So I'm just qualifying this by saying she didn't necessarily put herself in this position by choosing this guy. This guy was kind of just thrust upon her, right? So I'll give her a lot of grace there. But she then goes on to talk about how this crazy dude ended up snapping at her at Disney World. And it was all over a cheeseburger that she gave her cousin a bite of the cheeseburger. Her cousin is a woman. And then that bite of the cheeseburger led to this big explosive argument. And then later on, she got choked over it. Okay, so when you think about this, as a man who might have the inclination to go help a woman, you're about to run up on this dude that you don't know is like a religious zealot and thinks of himself more highly than every apostle that Jesus had, and thinks he's going to live forever, even though Jesus himself didn't live forever on the earth, right? And he thinks this because, oh, well, Jesus gave us his power, and I'm the one who has the most faith to use this power. So you're dealing with a religious nutcase, but you don't know that. Then you run up on this woman, and by her own admission, she says, well, I don't know what I would want somebody to have done. Because people were hitting her up in the comments like, well, what exactly did you expect somebody to do in that moment for you? And she herself says, I don't know. I don't know how I would have reacted if somebody would have got involved. But I would have liked for somebody to come comfort me after the fact. Like if I was alone and I was safe, because me and my husband went this way, he went this way, I went that way, I would want somebody to come comfort me and tell me that I deserve better and yada, 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 like the woman is doing. And I want you to think about that, what she's saying. This is why I bring up the Charleston White clip. She's saying, I don't know how I would react in a situation like this. She's saying that because if you would have went over there and gotten involved, she would not have had your back. Even though you're over there to protect her, if you got to going back and forth with her husband, she would be stepping between y'all. She would be trying to, calm the situation down, because she knows the husband is going to hurt her worse at home, quite possibly, which he ended up doing anyways. But then even her religious community is going to hold her accountable for not backing her husband, right? So it's the whole mafia thing, don't go against the family, right? That whole deal. And I'm sure they would have used Bible verses to, put the screws to her, everything like that. But the point is, she would not have had your back. She would not have been appreciative of that help, right? More to the point, if y'all would have got to fighting, she might have jumped in and you'd have been, fighting the guy and the girl. If you get beat down, I always tell you, that woman ain't going to pay your medical bills, right? You get beat down, she ain't paying your medical bills. You end up in jail, she ain't going to bail you out. If you lose your job because of the whole situation, you just stuck. If you beat him up, she's going to testify against you. Her church is going to make her do it. The husband's going to make her do it. Like, everything is against you in a situation like that. Keep in mind, I understand why you might want to help because the dude is going nuts at Disney World over a cheeseburger, right? But at the same time, you don't know that this dude is crazy. You don't know that this woman is essentially a part. I'm going to say she's a part of a cult, which, you know, I'm not a cult expert, but just the way she described her religious community and her religious life at the time was kind of culty. So I'll just say she was a part of, let's just call it a nefarious religious organization. Now, she doesn't say if she's Mormon or whatever. I'm just going to say it's like one of those churches that's like super radical, all of that kind of stuff. So that's the temple. That's what you're walking into. So everything is against you in that situation. Even if you walk over there and you calm the guy down, you just put her in a worse position. So she's going to not be appreciative. She's going to cuss you out and all of this, right? And just like the Charleston White clip says, that woman ain't gonna have your back. She's not gonna be, you know, that's what they do. Now, obviously, that woman didn't want to get choked. She ended up divorcing the guy. And in the longer version of this clip, she talks about it. Like I said, I'm not playing it because I don't know if I can play that much of her stuff without getting a copyright claim. But the point of the matter is, she's not dumb. She didn't stick around for this abuse for an extended period of time. Once she had a way out, she got out. And unfortunately, in her situation, I think she left right before the guy's mom died because she ended up getting, the guy's mom ended up getting cancer, but then the dude ended up strangling her and she was like, oh no, I'm out of here. So as soon as it turned like physical, she was out. So she's not stupid. So I have to give her a lot of credit. Like, I understand her situation because I've seen people in those situations. But from your perspective, or from my perspective to you, don't go over there helping these people because you can't. There's nothing you can do. You don't know the backstory. You don't know that she's dealing with some religious nutbag. You don't know that there's a religious community behind her that are going to make her testify against you. There's nothing you can do. Some people are just in bad situations and they have to navigate out of it. And once the situation got physical, she left. She did the right thing. And that's all you can really do is hope that a person's situation get better. Thoughts and prayers. Because if you go over there, you're going to catch a lawsuit. You're going to catch a case. You're going to get deleted or something worse. And the only thing really worse than getting deleted is catching a lawsuit, getting sued for your house and your car, and these people are making false claims against you and stuff like that. Like, I mean, dying is bad, but getting put to the legal, getting put through the legal system is even worse. So, like I say, don't do it. Don't go over there and help these women. There's nothing that you can do. That's her situation. She has to navigate through it. You can't solve nothing. You ain't God. You ain't him. So I'm not going to beat this into the dirt. Let me know what you guys think about it, and I'll get back at you on the next one.